This is Diamond Wallace doing my oral history archive of North Philadelphia community. Right now, I am sitting here with Denzel Wallace, where I will ask him a few questions about gentrification in North Philadelphia for my American History project. Denzel Wallace is an intern for State Rep Donna Bullock, and he will share his stories and past stories about gentrification in North Philadelphia. Denzel, how long have you lived in Philadelphia?
About 17 years.
And how long have you been working for your State Rep Donna Bullock?
For the last 2 years.
Over the years that you have lived in North Philadelphia or been working with Donna Bullock, how much have you seen North Philadelphia change racially?
Well, basically it changed a lot drastically, basically from the time I was in high school, even now that I'm in college. You see from the first time when the soda tax was implemented, we saw a lot of black communities take a hit from that. And I think that's when we saw a rise of a lot of, suburban families moving into Philadelphia.
Can you tell me a story about a time you've seen or experienced gentrification firsthand and how it made you feel?
I guess the first time I experienced gentrification would be around the time I came back from school the first time, and there was a lot of the buildings down Ridge after Girard. I can't remember specifically, but there was just a lot more complexes and stuff being around, or specifically more around Fairmount area. There's a lot more apartments and whatnot. Basically how it made me feel was I felt kind of, well, not particularly any type of way, it just kind of made me feel nostalgic when I saw more buildings that weren't originally there. And I guess when I tried to reminisce, it was kind of hard for me because, I grew up in the area, and even now when I try to think back what the buildings used to look like, it's really hard because it's full of new people, new environment, and I guess that's the hard part about it, if anything. Just a new environment about it.
Do you think these neighborhoods are fully hospitable to residents with a range of income, ages, and abilities?
Not at all. We primarily see a bunch of young college kids here, not even like older folk, because a lot of the older folk are just, going into like retirement and moving out of the city and whatnot. So what we see is an influx of a lot more younger people, primarily like Drexel kids, Temple kids, UPenn kids. They're the types that are moving in. So it's not really hospitable because it's only one group of demographic moving in.
Does the new community or the new buildings and design and social structures encourage healthy living and well-being?
I have one example of it. It's when Bloomsburg was knocked down. Bloomsburg, it was an apartment complex. It was brought down by demolition. That's the only example I have of, new building designs that encourage healthy living and well-being, because it was brought down because of its unsafe factor and how people's livelihoods were at stake, and they decided to rebuild it and give the peoples who lost their homes new homes in the same area to, encourage healthy living and well-being. Other than that, I don't have any other examples, personally.
Does new development use land efficiently with appropriate attention to the context?
I would say so. If you're knocking down all these buildings and whatnot for people who pay taxes, people who don't pay taxes, and you're building new things to encourage economic growth and development, I'm assuming that they're using the land for efficient reasons, like down Ridge, where they knocked down the motorbike club to build, the new office building, which promotes more economic growth and development, and more jobs are now offered to people who are coming out of college or looking for jobs at a higher level or at a median level sustainable household income.
Are there any stories you would like to share on gentrification? Do you think gentrification is necessary, or do you think it makes the community a different way?
Well, I have two stories of gentrification, one being in our own neighborhood, right around Strawberry Mansion. With all the Temple expanding, you see a lot more projects being either boarded up or knocked down so that they can get turned into apartment complexes for Temple students to live in. And I guess that's kind of the point for people who are unable to live in those areas because of poor financial sustainability, and for people to get put in there who can live in there because they have financial sustainability and basically offer up what poor people cannot. So, and then the other story would be Harlem, because, from New York, and Harlem being, so preserved in history and such rich black culture there, and for them to try to name it Soha and move out all the people who were originally there, because there's so much historical precedent there, and that's where a lot of the black community and development happen. That's where you get breakdancing from. That's where you get jazz and R&B. All that comes from these types of areas. And so, is gentrification necessary? I would say so. It's a necessary evil, if anything, because it does it promotes economic growth, but it also promotes economic inequality. And whenever you have liberty, you have inequalities. And if gentrification were to respect the cultural diversity that once existed there, I would be perfectly fine with it, because I know in a capital sense, it's not fair that someone who doesn't pay their taxes gets to stay in the area when someone who can offer the city good can. I understand that, but that's where the law and the ethics are, kind of muddy, because it's kind of unethical for you to throw out someone's livelihood and raise property taxes, so that way people who would normally be able to afford to live in certain places can no longer live in there, because that's the unethical part about it. So, I mean, it is a necessary evil because it does promote economic growth, and if you want cities to do well and prosper and have more jobs, I guess that's where gentrification comes in. But what you need to do is offer, if there's a migration of people, you also need to offer them, I guess, some form of sustainability and well-being, so that way we can ensure other people's welfare. And I guess that's the only problem. The problem is the economic inequality that comes with gentrification, or just the unethicalness in general. So yeah, but overall, I would say it's a necessary evil.
There we have it, guys. Gentrification and how it affects North Philadelphia. Denzel, I want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate this interview.